This is the FitnessFest Podcast, detailing the story of fitness professionals from around the world. Let's get to the episode. Welcome to the FitnessFest Podcast. My name is Tyler Valencia, and I'm the president of KIPS and Kettlebell Concepts. Today, we have Jenice Mattek to talk to us about her story in fitness and really just dive into how she started Integrative Movement Specialists with her husband, Dr. Evan Osar. Jenice, thank you for coming on the podcast. And to kick things off, can you give us your story in fitness, how you got started, and all that good stuff?
Yes, absolutely, Tyler. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm very honored to be a part of FitnessFest and have the ability and time to share my story,
yes.
Which I think, like many people in fitness, I always played sports as a kid all the way through high school, which was just my introduction into fitness. To where I started lifting weights when I was playing sports. And after that, then it was really, fitness was up to me when I got into college. It was really my own adventure to go on. And I am definitely a child of the 70s and 80s. And so aerobics was really a big thing. And I can remember sitting in one of my super small college apartment doing the Tammy Webb buns of steel and thighs of steel videos to stay in shape while I was in college.
Nice.
And I mean, even like being sure that I put on, the extra clothes so I could sweat a little bit extra. Like it was pretty hardcore. So
I love it.
I can definitely remember doing all of that. I remember Jane Fonda, and so fitness really evolved into more of that for me as I got older and moved away from team sports because I didn't have as many. I'm not a super social person. So to play team sports at that time required having to go out and meet people, which definitely more of an introvert, as people like to call me, an extroverted introvert or something like that, however that goes, but that's definitely much more my personality. So learning to find different ways to get my fitness was what I needed to do. And then as I got into college and into my degree in occupational therapy, I started to understand the idea of movement from a different perspective. Exercise became much more of a therapeutic type way of teaching people exercise. And then when I moved to Chicago, my first job actually in fitness itself was working in a facility called Women's Workout World.
Okay.
So that was my lead into the fitness world. And what I determined there was I was, as one of the women who was trying to teach me how to teach aerobics, said, can you keep a beat? So a group exercise from that standpoint, to music and keeping a beat and teaching step classes, which were huge back then, was probably not going to be the way that I was going to be successful in the fitness industry, which then led me more to personal training. And then with that led me into, now I also have a diploma in massage therapy. And now I get to blend those two together, movement, fitness, and massage, to work with my clients today, which is an amazing opportunity to really help people evolve and change their view of their body, change their view of how they get to treat their body, and to really, really experience everything their body is able and capable of doing, no matter whatever age you are.
Gotcha. Nice. So, little side note to put into this, which is in the previous podcast, Dr. Osar mentioned something about you two meeting in school. Were you the teacher and put the moves on, or was he the teacher?
No moves. There were no moves. It was very appropriate. Dr. Osar was actually my instructor in massage school. And it was all very appropriate. I was out of school long before any kind of move started to happen.
Perfect. I had to ask, because when you were talking about the different schools, I was like, okay, which one was it where you two met? Okay, but all good there. It's always great to hear how people got into the fitness industry, what those steps were. And I love hearing of course, the Jane Fonda stuff, the group exercise. And I say this whenever somebody mentions group exercise, is that, and you kind of hinted at it with your instructor, is I give so much credit to the people that can teach choreography, and my kind of background is in sport performance, and I enjoy powerlifting, Olympic lifting, but I will dabble here and there. Well, I used to in college have to take aerobic classes, step classes. And then at one point I had to teach an aerobics class for my degree. And it was just so challenging. So I always give credit to those people, but because it takes a lot of skill, a lot of memorization, but then to apply it in front of an audience. So now you got your element of public speaking in there. It's just so much, but it's good stuff in there. With your educational background, what was it that made you choose that route? I think that's always a good question to ask with somebody now, because there's so many different advanced routes to go with. You see individuals that, okay, I want to get more than just either my certification or my bachelor's. I want to pursue a master's degree. I want to pursue a DPT or the chiropractic. Or there's so many out there, and they're all good choices. What was it that you were like, okay, I want to choose this one?
I think one thing most people struggle with, and I definitely did as a young adult going into college, is I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I kind of, in the beginning, just followed something that sounded good, which obviously didn't pan out for me. And then I remember I was sitting there looking at the college handbook of where I was going to go to school after I decided what I had gone to school for wasn't the best thing I really wanted to do. And I came across this thing called occupational therapy. And it sounded really good because the description sounded like I'm going to help people with this. And I definitely did not have a full appreciation for the education I received until I actually got more into fitness and massage. And I actually did reach out to one of my professors and told her it's because of my experience in occupational therapy school that I can actually be the practitioner I am today. The skills that I learned there they were life skills as well as professional skills, and really have helped develop me into the person I get to be today as a practitioner, working with my clients, getting to know them, getting to know everything about them, understanding the importance of their goals, understanding where they are when they come in the door, and how do we get them to where they best go. So it's an idea that so many people have, especially when you go into fitness, is I just really want to help people. And it's a great place to start, but it's super general.
Yeah.
And with that, over the time I've been in this industry, which is over 20 years now, is deciding who do I best serve? Who can I best serve? Because being a student in high school was definitely not my forte. I was barely an above average student in high school. I was pretty much told I had a hole in my head for certain types of learning, which was not a cool thing to say to a kid when they're 16 trying to figure out their way in life. But luckily, when I got to college, I had teachers and professors who had high expectations of their students, and that's what I got to experience, was these high expectations, which drove me to be a better student, which I also found something I was very passionate about. And I think when you can find something you're passionate about, the learning is easier.
Agreed.
Because you can see where you want to go with that. And to think that I would have found anatomy to be a super fun subject when I hated science in high school. But now anatomy is something that I study every day. I want to know more. I want to understand as much as I can so I can better explain it to my clients, because they always want to understand. And oftentimes in the health field, when you're seeing your doctor or your nurse or whatever, they don't always necessarily have the time to spend with you to answer those questions. And so having that is an amazing thing. So that took me on my path to, okay, I now have this where I can now assess people and understand their medical history. And that has really allowed me to now be where I am today, spending time with people, understanding their medical history, explaining their diagnosis to them and how that affects them in their physical being, and how we can then help them move past the challenges that they're having so that they can get back to those activities that they really need, want, and love to do.
That's great. That's great stuff. With entering the fitness industry, you just mentioned that you've been in the industry for 20 years. What was that first job for you? Can you give us a little background on it?
Yeah, like I said, it was working at Women's Workout World. And I actually was applying for management position.
Okay.
And so I was going through their manager training program. And one thing I realized pretty quickly because you had to work everything. You had to work the front desk, you had to work the back end, you had to learn all the aerobics, you had to learn all the weightlifting, you had to learn all the machines and everything like that. And one thing I realized is that the management position was not the position that I wanted to be in. I wanted to be the person working with the clients. I didn't want to be the person overseeing the employees who got to work with the clients. And so it really gave me an interesting perspective, because I went directly into management training. And I'm a one-to-one type person. We have a very small company now, and the most challenging part for me is managing people. Luckily, we have a fantastic team right now, so it makes my job pretty easy. But working in the gym, I also realized that I don't know if I was really meant to work in a gym. But I still love the idea of fitness. And I also don't like the idea of being with just women in a gym. I know that there's lots of places that still have women only parts of gyms. And to me, a gym is a gym. And if you can get your mindset when you walk in the gym to just be focused on you, which is really what it's about when you're there, then that's great. So those are kind of my big takeaways from being in that facility. I understood that I was not going to be a group instructor to music for sure. I wasn't going to be the person who's going to manage people in a gym. But it did give me so much perspective of, bringing in new members, creating schedules, creating gym schedules, workout schedules, aerobic schedules, and everything it takes to become a group instructor, which you and I just talked about this shortly. Like, that is a challenging job, and people who can do that are amazing. So many hats they have to wear in front of that classroom. So I definitely learned a ton having that job. I'd learned what I wanted, what I didn't want, and it essentially put me on the trajectory of where I am today, because I met a woman there who was in the massage school that I later attended, and meeting her because she worked at the gym with me, meeting her sent me off to massage school, where I then met my husband, where we then created this company where we now work with fitness people and give them advanced certifications. So there's always a reason for
That's
where
good.
you end up in life.
I love the positive spin on it. I think that you take, even though you weren't in a situation that you wanted to be in for the long term, you found the positive in what you can take from it and then apply for what you have now. Can you give us the background on what were those, I'll say, beginning thoughts on starting Integrative Movement Specialists? What sparked it? I know that as myself being an entrepreneur, there's, things that lead into it. And even for me personally, I was looking in, saying that, okay, I enjoy creating my own business. I enjoy that process of it. I enjoy putting the extra work in it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to give this a shot. What was that kind of state of I'll say the feeling of it with you and Dr. Osar?
Yeah, it was, I think with life, if you can't see the challenges as a way to grow, you will be disappointed oftentimes in life. And any entrepreneur knows that when you're starting your own business, or you're going through the thought process of starting your own business, and then you dig in there, mistakes will be made. And I once heard a woman tell me she never made any mistakes. I was like, wow, how did that happen? I would like to know that secret sauce. We did find ourselves, we started very simply. We started what we call, at the time, was called Fitness Education Seminars. Many people still know our company by that name. And it was a company where we just put on small one-day seminars, like, 6 to 8 hour seminars. And then just in the local Chicago area, I mean, we were literally going door to door with flyers to all the various gyms to get people. We were, spending tons of money to buy names from a list from big organizations. And then we decided, hey, let's have this big conference. That's the two of us. Let's bring in a third person to help us. Let's have a really big conference where we bring in all these speakers. And so we did that. We spent a lot of money. We lost a ton of money. We did that for 4 years, along with our small one-day seminars. And the last one we did was around 2008, which we all know what happened in 2008. The world made a big financial shift for many people. And the first conference we had about 150 people, and the last one we had 30. And what we realized during those 4 years was we were bringing all these people in to speak at our event. And our message of what we were trying to teach people was just one of the speakers that they got to hear. And many times other speakers would be saying something that was contradictory to what we were saying. So we were creating confusion. And our message was getting lost by trying to create an event that wasn't in line with what we were trying to do. And there are many people like Janice who hold fitness events who do it and they do it really, really well. And that was just not what we were supposed to be doing. And so it was at the dinner with the speakers at that last event, we told them this was going to be our last one, that we were going to then be taking our company and getting very deep. Where instead of going broad, we were going to go deep with our message. And we created the Integrative Movement System. It was already there. Mm-hmm. And now we just put it in an expansive way, a much deeper way for people to learn it, to experience it, to own it, to bring it to their clients. So that's kind of a long story of how we started the Integrative Movement System program and how we changed our company now to Integrative Movement Institute.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's, I think, the step that some entrepreneurs, and this is my opinion on it, that some entrepreneurs miss the pivot, or they miss that opportunity to find something that really is more beneficial for their company, because I think they sometimes just have that tunnel vision on what they originally started out to do, or they do not want to make that type of adjustment. And I'll admit that I was actually in a similar boat when I started my company, Kips. It was the vision that I had was something that I could not achieve with my resources. And it ultimately was something that I couldn't see continuing. So I pivoted, and it ultimately led me to, just a path where just seeing continuous growth. And what that was I started off making courses like the bigger educational companies, like the NASMs, the ACEs, and the NSEAs. And it was a path that I was like, okay, I can't compete with them with marketing, and I can't compete with them with resources. So let's make a different type of course. And it ultimately led to some positive growth. It led to positive growth in a different area. So I think that pivot that you guys made, with you saw what was happening with the state of the country in 2008, and then ultimately, okay, let's shift our business model and let's see what happens. And from what it sounds like and what I can see and have seen is that it just grew from there. And what do you think that, or can you share what the conversations were like when that switch happened? I think that's actually such an interesting thing to dive into right there.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because we talked to some of our colleagues, even people who came and they spoke at our event, and one of our colleagues said, "Hey, listen, it's way easier to make money when you have people paying, 10 people paying you more than 100 people paying you less." Mm-hmm. And then it's also when you get those 10 people who are willing to make the time and financial commitment because they see the picture, they see mm-hmm. what you're creating for them, you're going to have, you as a person providing the service are going to have such a much more enjoyable experience with the work that you're doing, which I think is so underrated. There are many reasons that people go into business. Some people go into business just to make money. Some people go into business to do their passion. And then some people go into business to do their passion, to live their passion and make money. Mm-hmm. And I think we get to do that right now. And our goal is always to make our team members, and that's what we call people who go through our program, team members. Mm-hmm. It's our job to make them the best at what they want to do. And so that's what we are allowed to do now, because we're able to dive so deep and have such personal relationships with the people who come through our programs that they will tell you they are part of a family when they come into our program now. They leave empowered. They know that we've always got their back. They know they can always come to us if they have questions, thoughts, concerns, if they have recommendations for how it might help the group. So that's what making that shift has allowed us to do. And those are what the conversations are all the time. What can we do to make this a better experience for the people? Not just the people coming in, but most importantly, the people that are already in the program, because it's an ongoing program. What do we do to make their experience better? What do we do to empower them? What information are they seeking? How are we going to deliver it to them? And how do we do it so it's easy for them? Mm-hmm. Like the information we give oftentimes is challenging. You have to really, it's not easy information to digest, but it's like, how do we make it easy to digest? How do we reach them where they are to bring them to where they want to go? Yeah. So those are our ongoing conversations. They're the conversations from the start. And then hearing their voices, have changed the program so much to reach more people, to help people take the information and excel with it. And the stories that they come back with are amazing. The stories, they blow our minds sometimes with the stories that they come back with. But really that was the goal of it, is how do we help people who are interested in the information that we share? How do we reach them? How do we bring it to them in a way that will serve them and serve the people that they want to serve? And then how do we continually support them?
I like that. I like the experience part. I think that's an aspect that I think some businesses miss out on. And I think that's part of shifting there's a variety of ways that people learn, and even I'll say generationally, how different generations learn and what they prefer. And that has actually been something in the last maybe year and a half that I've dived into, part of it just being exposed to it at some of the conferences that I've non-fitness related conferences that I've been a part of, is how they tailor education to the generation that's going to be attending, to make sure that they are learning and consuming the information. But the continuous, how can we make the experience better? How can we improve the people that are already in it? It's it's a process that I think sparks innovation and creates a product that you're happy about, consumers are happy about, but then continually seeking more growth with it. For learners that are just chiming in and maybe are unfamiliar with the Integrative Movement Specialists, can you give a little background on what kind of your mission is and how you guys are different?
Sure. One way I think that we're different is it's not a certification that we take everybody. Mm-hmm. There's an application process that you go through. We review the applications. People come in via referral by our other team members, which is huge for us. They tend to have the best experience when they're referred by somebody who they've already seen and they want to emulate what they're seeing that person do. The biggest thing is we're small, and when we bring our groups together for their first certification course, the maximum amount of people we have in a class is 12 people. Wow. We are constantly looking to bring the people who want to be leaders within the program up so that they too can be a part of that teaching process and leading process. And again, that's not an easy process either, because anybody can regurgitate information, and we don't want people who are just going to regurgitate the information. We want people who have had experience with the information. They can share their own personal stories of success with and challenges with the information. So that is one thing about the integrative movement system. Is it was, when we first created it, it was very vast. And that's what a lot of people will tell you, is there was so much information. So we've taken the information and we've pared it down for that original course, the initial course that people come through. We've pared it down. We've given people the resources that they've really asked for. Mm-hmm. And then as they come through the mastery courses, which are their continuing education courses, they're able to take that information and keep adding on to their skill set. And sometimes it could be information that was even covered in the initial program, but we all know that when we learn stuff, we retain about 20% of what we learn. And so we're constantly showing them the skills that they have in their toolbox that they may have forgotten about or they haven't used. And so it's an ever-growing way of just challenging your skill set, bringing new information to your clients, and growing all the time. And the biggest thing is that it is such a tight-knit group of people that when you come into the room, I do love it when people just instantly introduce themselves to people. I mean, I go to classes all the time, and again, I'm usually the last person in the room, so I can take the seat in the back of the room. And that's just me, because that's who I am. But I love, and I'm not that way when I'm with our group of people. I'm a totally different person, because it's my family, it's my house. I'm here to support you. I'm here to wrap you up in my arms. So that, I think, is really the biggest thing, is like the people who have stayed with the program are the people who are 100% dedicated to understanding the program, to bringing it to their clients, to helping their clients reach their goals with the information, and to really excel as a professional. And the people who have stepped away from the program are the people who, when we look back now, we can say they were just really here just to get the information. They didn't care about the part of growing as a group of professionals together, which is okay. That's okay too. But it did really tighten down our interview process with people so that we really get to know people when they come into the program, because you are coming into our home. You're coming in to be a part of our family. You're coming in to learn the information and to take it and do amazing things with it. And that's what our team members have allowed us to see is they accomplish great things with this information. They own it in their own selves. They own it with their clients. And so if we're bringing somebody new into that family, it's like bringing in that new spouse or that new fiance or introducing them to the family. And you want to make sure that they're going to be a good fit with the family so that they constantly feel welcome and that you feel, and that the rest of the team feels that they are part of the family. So I think that's really probably the biggest thing is because when we bring people together for our annual events, it's like they may not have seen each other for an entire year, but they remember that person's name. They ask them questions about what they've been up to, and they really are expressive and they share conversations. And I think really, and as we grow, and I look forward to the day that we have 200 people at a conference, but that is still the same thing we see when we look out. We see people still hugging each other and excited to see each other and sharing their stories of success. And it's just a room full of people who are like-minded and passionate. And that's what I love about what we are able to do. And I feel like that's really, really, really what makes a difference, because you're not just a number. You are a human being. You mean a lot to us. And us sharing with you is us entrusting you with the information because we feel we can.
Good stuff. Good stuff right there. Can you dive into a little bit about I think this would be very fascinating, personally for me, the interview process. That's I think really something that I think would be interesting for the listeners.
So one part of our interview process is the first class that you come to. It's an introductory class to the program. And we're changing this a little bit. Obviously, the world has told us we need to change a few things, but we're still going to stick with that process. So if you come to our introductory class, we actually do not provide the full information of taking the next steps until we feel that we can actually wholeheartedly introduce it to the whole class. So I literally don't print out the registration forms until Sunday morning, the last day that we're there. And I have to feel confident that if I'm asking people to take the next step with us, I feel confident that the right people are sitting in front of me to do that. And if I didn't, I wouldn't do it. I would send out separate emails and invite certain people. We feel wholeheartedly in that. So if you attend the course, the introductory course, that is the interview process. The classes are small. We have 4 TAs for groups of 10 or 12 people. We survey our TAs. Hey, what do you think about this person, that person? They'll come to us and be like, I'd really like to see that person in the program. I'd really like to see that person in the program. That person, I don't think is ready for the program yet. And so we really talk to them about that. We've had in the past had to coach somebody out of the program. And I was okay with that. They were not a good fit. They were a disruptor in the classroom. And they were making it challenging for everybody else to learn. So if you're in the program, if you take that introductory course, that's the interview process right there. You don't even know you're being interviewed.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think that the process of learning and being with people, I mean, you get to see how they act with a group of individuals, their interaction and what they take and how they're learning and comprehending. That's pretty fascinating right there. I like this direction of the podcast right here. It's really cool to hear. With all this good stuff going on. So the Integrative Movement Specialists, you did massage school, you dabbled in the group exercise to get the women's workout world. Along that path, did you have any mentors that helped your career out?
I would definitely say, honestly, my professors in school were amazing mentors to me, partly because anyone who knows me well enough will laugh if they ever hear this. So when I was probably 20, 21 years old. And in my program, it was very small. There's 25 students in the class. And each teacher was in charge of counseling a section of the people. And my counselor was Nancy. Nancy was a sweet, wonderful woman. And she was sitting with me and she said, Jenice, we all love you. We all think you're going to be an amazing therapist. Our concern is you need to control your face. You need to control your face when other people speak, because everything you're thinking is written all over your face. And I have tried for the last 20 plus years to control my facial expressions when people talk. However, the people who know me well know that I don't do a great job of it all the time. But it was something that I needed to hear. It was something that it's something that just is part of me, but it was something I needed to know because I didn't even know at that time I was even doing it. Evan will attest to it 100% when he's speaking and I'm in the back of the classroom watching everybody. And if he says something I don't agree with, or I think it wasn't said clear enough for people to understand, he'll get a look and he'll know by the look on my face. So definitely my teachers in OT school were amazing mentors. Obviously my husband, as not just my instructor, but as an instructor of our program, is an amazing mentor. His brain power is extraordinary. His ability to put things together is extraordinary. I have had amazing teachers over the years, learning the different techniques that I use in massage. There's phenomenal people in the physical therapy world, like Diane Lee and Linda Joy Lee. I'm sure Evan probably mentioned them if you asked them this question. They're amazing mentors when it comes to female health, which is really more of an area I specialize in the fitness world, is teaching about working with people post-surgery. Those are big mentors as well. So and I think oftentimes just our students are amazing mentors.
That's good.
Because they help you learn. They help you learn so much. They bring you problems and strategies and suggestions and looking at their accomplishments. And every once in a while you can feel like, I'm human. We're all human. You can feel like today is not my day. I didn't have a great day. I'm not as good as I thought I was, or my skills are not what I thought they were. And then you have students come back who you taught and they're like, oh my God, I did this and this was amazing. And my client was so excited. And then you're like, okay, we're on the right path. Sometimes we all need a little kick or a little reminder that we're on the right path and we're doing good things.
Mm-hmm. I gotta quickly chime in on the your expressive facial features, because I have something similar when this is not fitness related at all, but when, let's say, an incident happens at a store or, in public and somebody does something just out of the ordinary, my wife will always look at me because I just can't hold it in. Like I either have to immediately just turn away because I'm either going to laugh if it was something funny, or I'll have to just really, she'll notice that I'm just really trying hard to keep it in, because it's probably not good if I were to laugh or if I was to, show any type of facial expression, or even I think people that know me as well, that I have trouble saying mean things to people, or even saying no to anybody. So when people work with me, they'll know that if I'm beating around the bush, if it's a question where someone would typically say no to, I'll nicely, or I'll say something, or they'll notice on my face that it's not something that I agree with. And that's kind of the way that they've kind of learned how I can't say no to somebody. I don't want to be mean to them. But it's, I like that part of what you just mentioned. Something interesting, I think, for any fitness professional that's potentially looking to get on the speaking circuit is advice for them. What is the advice that you would give to somebody that wants to start speaking at conferences?
Apply. The best thing you can do is just apply. You have to, if people aren't going to just find you, that's the biggest thing. Know that people are likely not going to just find you, especially with the internet. There's too many other people out there. There's a lot of people saying a lot of things, and they might be jazzier and fresher and brighter and have more things that look better on the internet. But if you feel you have a purpose, a passion, a story, if you feel like you can make a difference for people, apply, and know that you might get rejected. You might get rejected over and over and over and over again, but keep applying, keep asking, reach out to people. Hey, was there a reason why you didn't select me? Know that people, if they get your application, they might go back to people and be like, hey, have you heard of this person? And they may likely not have heard of you, and that's okay. Keep doing your thing, but make what it is. Be sure that you do have a website. It's the simplest way for people to find you. Make sure that it's clear and easy to understand. I think the simplest thing to remember is your website doesn't have to be flashy, but it does have to be a business card that describes who you are and what you do and why you do it. But the biggest thing is get out and practice. Not everybody is a born presenter. Just know that it's a process. If you can, take some kind of online course in speaking, so that when people ask you to send in a recording of you doing a talk, or you start to do YouTube videos, which is a great way to people to see how you present and what you look like when you present and your way to present information, make sure that you practice that. It's not, if you practiced your choreography for group instructor, you need to do the same thing if you want to start speaking in front of people. Because always remember that this is the biggest thing, and I had to learn this the hard way at teaching, is just because you know how to do something with a client does not necessarily mean you know how to teach it to professionals. Mm-hmm. They're two totally different abilities. And as much as you studied how to participate with your clients and teach your clients, you need to understand if you're teaching professionals, you need to be the smartest person in the room. Mm-hmm. You need to be the smartest in the subject matter that you are discussing. And even though people are going to ask you questions that may not apply to what you're talking about, or you may not have that knowledge because maybe it's even more advanced for you, you need to be honest about that.
Yep.
I think it was actually an eye-opening experience. In a course I was taking years ago, I asked the instructor a question, and she said, I don't know the answer to that. And she just moved on. Mm-hmm. And it's okay to do that, because you're better off and people have more respect for you if you say, I don't really know the answer to that, versus making something up, which I've seen people wholeheartedly do. And it's really sad to watch. Mm-hmm.
100% agree with all of that. Understanding the content and even answering the questions. If you don't know it, you don't know it. And I will 100% say that I've gained respect from people, because if I don't understand an answer, if I don't know it, a question, I will tell them, and I will go find out that answer for them and provide that answer to them. And I think that that's such a great way to earn people's trust and for people to see you as a professional in this industry. So it's such a good piece of advice you shared right there for those looking to get on the speaking circuit, and the continuous effort of trying to get on it. And it's something, if you want to, you got to practice it. Just so you said, got to practice those steps, improving the craft, improving that process, all that kind of good stuff that goes into that total package for the committee that's looking over your application. And if you want it, you'll get it eventually. You just got to keep at it. And I mean, you look at anything with social media, with speaking, or even this podcast. There's elements of this podcast, I'll say it right now, that are, I don't want to say they're scripted, but they're planned out. The questions, we can practice this. There's stuff that are said before the podcast to make sure that it's professional for people listening to it. We don't want to put out anything that is not up to par with Fitness Fest. And that's why there's elements of this that are practiced and all that kind of stuff. So it goes across many different lines of content you're putting out there, not just, you mentioned, if you're a good personal trainer, if you're good at that, does not mean that it translates to other areas. So you got to practice those and learn more about it, seek out information in that aspect. So good stuff with that. Jenice, as we're winding down right here, where can listeners and there's no viewers, this is an online podcast. Where can listeners, where can they find information about IMS or even any upcoming events you guys have?
Yep, absolutely. Right now, of course, as many of us know, upcoming events are all online this year. And we've actually had to take that with our IMS people this year as well, which was a hard decision we just made to not have any in-person courses the rest of this year, just because you never know, but you still want to be able to make sure you're delivering to people, but you don't want to deliver that they can come and see you if they can't actually come and see you. So people can find our website at www.iihfe.com. That is our website where they can learn more about what it is that we do. They can learn about the Integrative Movement Specialist certification, and they can learn about different products that we currently have available. If they're looking for just a simple product or something that's more involved with CEUs, we have all those options available at our website. And then people can follow me on Facebook at Jenice Mattek if they want to. Otherwise, I would encourage you to go to Fitness Education Seminars on Facebook and like our page there, as well as follow Dr. Osar at IIHFE on Instagram. Everything we pretty much do is under our company stuff. You can like me if you want on Facebook, send me a friend request. I definitely have a lot of work to do for myself on getting more of the information out that I specifically teach. That is 100% for sure. And that is my goal now that we find ourselves kind of hanging out here more in Chicago and staying home versus traveling so much. So yeah, that's why I'm super excited to actually be able to do this course for Fitness Fest coming up in a couple of weeks, as well as taking that to the Fitness Fest conference itself.
Perfect. Good stuff. Really great stuff in this episode. I appreciate you taking the time to share your story. And that's the beauty of this podcast, is that there's so many different routes that people take, things that they're doing right now in the fitness industry. And so if people sharing your story, getting it out there, it's all good stuff, positive stuff. Thank you, Jenice, for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. Tyler, can I finish up with one last thing?
Please do.
So one thing I find that many people struggle with in a number of professionals, especially when you're trying to be entrepreneurial, because lots of times we just struggle to make money when we start. And I will say the quickest way to personal and professional satisfaction that I have found was decide who it is that you want to serve. What group do you feel passionate about? Which group do you feel could benefit most from who you are as a person and the profession that you're in? Because then you can dive deep. You can learn about that group of people. You can learn about maybe if it's a certain diagnosis of people that you want to work with, if you want to work specifically with women. And remember, working with women is a vast area of interesting, complicated, intricate things that you could decide that you want to specialize in. If you want to specialize in teaching a certain type of group class, become the best at that. Learn everything you can about that. Learn how you can take it maybe to different groups of people. But really find something that drives your passion and that fills your bucket, because only truly you are the one that can fill that. And it will feel so much easier if you can decide who it is or what it is that you want to specialize in, because then you can build something on top of that.
Awesome. Great way to end right there.
Thank you, Tyler. I appreciate your time.